Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Dr. Ted Davis joining us here, our leadership coach at Gray Strategic Services. Based at Leavenworth, Kansas, he joins us back here today to talk more about how he's helping so many corporate executives, entrepreneurs, CEOs, business owners, and people out there who may be in transition. And again, he's here to help consult and help you really live that best life and find the new meaning and, of course, how to move forward. So welcome back today. How are you?
Excuse me, my other phone interrupted us.
That's okay. Pleasure to have you back, Dr. Ted. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me today. It's great talking with you, Jill. I am a West Point graduate. I graduated class of 1974, which tells you that I'm very old, and had a very wonderful 22-year career in the U.S. Army, retired in 1996, and then started my consulting and coaching business shortly after that. And so I've been at it now 27 years.
Amazing.
Working with leaders. My whole purpose in life is to help managers become leaders and help leaders reproduce themselves. So I've had the great pleasure of consulting, coaching, and training leaders.
Wonderful. And how do we find you? What's the website?
Thank you. The website is graceforsuccess.com. That's the number 4. My email address is TEDavis, 1D, TEDavis at graceforsuccess.com. And my cell phone, which is the best way to reach me, is send me a text, is 913-306-1499.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, we're excited that you're here, gracing so many with success. And I know today we're going to talk a little more about positive psychology in a sense, right? Tell us a little bit of breakdown of what we want to discuss for our listeners today.
Yeah, I thought it would be helpful to spend a few minutes talking about one of the things I think is critically important for leaders is to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
How do you be positive personally? How do you create a positive working environment? How do you establish an environment where people have optimism, where they have hope, where there's self-efficacy? In other words, there's a pride in what they do, and that they're resilient. And I think those are some key elements to positive psychology, which is an absolutely incredible science. It was first started by Martin Seligman. The whole study of positive psychology started with Dr. Martin Seligman. He was a psychologist at the time. He was the president of the Psychiatric Association, and he, the APA. But anyway, he looked at it and said, traditional psychology looks at why people are not healthy and how do we get them to be healthy. So it was on the fact there was a malady, there was a problem, and how do we deal with it. And so nobody was, prior to him starting it, no one was looking at the positive side of why are people healthy, what is it that people do to remain mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and how can you get more of that, which is a marvelous philosophy of what he had. And so he created positive psychology, so it's a scientific study. I mean, he and his associates there at the University of Pennsylvania did a phenomenal job of studying this. It's a study about strengths and virtues that enable individuals and even communities and how to thrive. So I think it's, again, it's concerned about people's strengths versus their weaknesses. And it's interested in building the best things in life as well as repairing some of the worst. And then it's concerned about how to help people have it's one of 3 types of lives. Seligman talked about the pleasant life is a life where you're increasing your positive emotion through pleasure, activities, and attitudes. And that's a good thing. But he said the next step up from that is the good life. And the good life to him was you use your strengths in your work, your love, your friendships, and your parenting. So it's recognizing what are your character strengths and how do you leverage those in all aspects of your life, your work, your relationships. And then the third life that Seligman talked about, and I think this is very important for leaders, is the meaningful life. And in a meaningful life, you use your strengths to serve something larger than yourself. And so I think if you're going to be a professional leader, you ought to be striving for the meaningful life because you understand and you know what are my character strengths and how do I leverage those so I help other people succeed. And that's one part of being a good leader is helping other people succeed. And then certainly helping the organization succeed. As we talked about in one of our prior discussions, my approach that every organization exists to deliver something of value to the marketplace. So in a meaningful life, as a leader, you're leveraging your strengths towards delivering that value to the organization. Mm-hmm. So your comments so far?
Well, it's, ironic because someone like yourself who had such, and still does, an amazing background and all this work ethic, and you're teaching people, training people, how to do better and really be more successful. It just, fascinates me that, we got to go back to our mental status, right? And our mental thinking to help clarify, to help, grow, to help. And it's optimization. And I know you mentioned when it comes to psychology of the mind and, really it's kind of simple. Let me ask you, is it as simple as, I also believe in this whole concept of, positive mindset. And in a sense, is that what we're getting at here? The power of our minds to change, to do, to grow. Is it as simple as that? Or, still, I think we need some more guidance and leadership along the way, Ted. But is it, a mindset that can be changed by, simple forms of, people say, okay, I journal, I diary, I have vision boards. A lot of people do this to try to change their mindset, but maybe it's not enough. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a combination of mindset and understanding. When we say mind, we generally think of, or we generally refer to, what are your thought processes? I would suggest that mindset is beyond that. It's not just simply the thoughts, the rational, but it's the emotional as well. I think when you use the word mindset, keep in mind that emotions are a part of that because God created us to be both a rational person and an emotional person, and they're supposed to work together. I think that's probably most of the time why we have problems is we're not allowing, or we haven't been taught. We don't teach ourselves. We haven't been taught how do we cause the rational mind and the emotional heart and mind to work together, because the emotions are informing reasoning, and reasoning ought to inform emotions and change. So I'm sure when you were little, if your mother was anything like mine, or a teacher or so forth, when you were being stupid as a kid and you're having a bad attitude, bad behavior, and you got that explanation, you better change your mind, young man. You better change your attitude. Well, that's a recognition of the fact that we do have. And I think as leaders, it's critically important that we understand ourselves. I love the study not only of positive psychology, but I think that emotional intelligence, to me, is wrapped up in that whole study. So that's another incredibly important part of being emotionally intelligent. There is a wonderful quote that I like to use. It's from Aristotle, which shows how far back we can go and see evidence of people understanding rationality and emotions and so forth. But anyway, Aristotle said, anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. So I think that goes exactly to what you were saying about, we can look at a situation and our emotions inform us, and emotions inform us how we're responding. It ought to tell us something about what we're seeing and how we're interpreting. What's the story we're telling ourselves? And we have the power to change it, to adapt.
Yeah.
So I think it starts with, I like the three key elements of personal emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence about yourself. There's two pillars of emotional intelligence: self-awareness or self.
What was the first one? I'm sorry. What was the first one?
Well, there's two pillars. One is the personal competencies, and the second one is social competencies. How do you understand what's happening in the group, in your company, in your leadership team, and so forth? But in the personal competencies, the three keys to me are, number one, you got to be self-aware. How am I thinking? How am I feeling? What are my strengths, my weaknesses? So you're very aware of it. But then number two is self-regulation. And that's where we get to choose, am I going to stay angry? Or am I going to stay angry to where I'm enraged? Or can I bring it back down to I'm just simply upset? So you've got to be self-aware so that you can then self-regulate, turn off the negative emotion, and move to a more resourceful emotion. You pick and choose what is the emotion I need to be in to solve this problem, to reach this goal. And that leads you to the third element of competency in emotional intelligence is self-motivation. That you then use the resourceful emotion to move yourself forward. So an illustration is, again, going back, you need to be able to understand what are your emotions telling you. So I like to point out the difference between being frustrated and being disappointed. I see them oftentimes that they're synonyms, but they're not. Frustration, basically, is an emotion that says, I haven't reached my goal yet, but I still think I can get there. If I just change the technique, if I get more resources, if I change something, I can still reach my goal. So I'm frustrated I haven't gotten there yet. You still think there's a possibility. The second is disappointment. And disappointment says you can't get there. It's over. It's never going to happen. And the importance of understanding that difference is if you're disappointed, and I think this is important for leaders, if you're disappointed or your people are disappointed, then the message is you've got to move on. Don't languish in the thing that's disappointing. Now, you got to mourn. I mean, if you lost someone, a sense of loss, you do have to go through a mourning process. But you've got to also move on. And the example I use is, I came to the realization that my military career, my Army career, I wasn't going to go as far as my ambitions had hoped for. And so when I got to that about 20-year mark, I realized I'm not going to go as far as I wanted. That was greatly disappointing. And I had to mourn over that because it was loss of an ambition, loss of a dream. But my wife wisely pointed out, you got to mourn over this thing just because you lost something that you loved. And while I loved my career, I'm so thankful I did it, but it didn't go as far as I wanted. And so once I realized, okay, I'm not going to, what's next? And then I managed the rest of my last 4 years on active duty in such a way to serve well, but also realizing, okay, I'm going to move on. Let's get ready for the next step in life. So I think that emotional intelligence and that positive psychology of recognizing what's happening internally and then choosing, am I in a resourceful emotion or unresourceful? And then how do I get there?
Got it.
Does all that make sense?
It does. Well, we got to take a quick break here. I'm so sorry. But Ted Davis, Grace Strategic Services, tell us the best ways we can reach out to you, and we're going to pause for that quick break.
My phone number is 913-306-1499. Call or send me a text.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much. And also, don't forget, Grace, the number 4success.com. mytuner-radio.com. You will be right back, everyone. Please don't go anywhere and stay with us.
Are you struggling with knowing how to manage your health and weight? Do you need help planning your nutrition around your needs and goals? Hi, my name is Alec Moore, and I'm the founder of Nutrition Collaborative. We offer premium one-on-one nutrition and fitness coaching services. I help my clients learn the proper nutrition and fitness habits for their specific needs and goals. Contact me today on Instagram at Alec the Dietitian, and let's get you the help you need on your journey once and for all. Are you struggling with knowing how to manage your health and weight? Are you struggling with knowing how to manage your health and weight? Do you need help planning your nutrition around your needs and goals? Hi, my name is Alec Moore, and I'm the founder of Nutrition Collaborative. We offer premium one-on-one nutrition and fitness coaching services. I help my clients learn the proper nutrition and fitness habits for their specific needs and goals. Contact me today on Instagram at Alec the Dietitian, and let's get you the help you need on your journey once and for all.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
My dad used to say that.
Sure, yeah. It's from Geico.
Yeah, whenever I would ask my dad for life advice, he'd sit me down and say, son, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. And look at me now, a well-adjusted adult with a drawer full of plastic bags I'll never use.
Okay, I'm confused. Was your dad a licensed Geico agent?
Nah, he was just a real good dad.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, online radio box, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Maybe you're struggling your business as an individual, as a business owner. Well, we have some executive coaching, and we have a lot of success stories here with Grace for Success. That's Grace Strategic Services, and our leader, Dr. Ted Davis, joining us here, the founder, really helping increase that performance and increase, revenue overall with their people, teams, organizations, and he's here helping so many. And we're excited that he's here back with us. Go to grace4success.com, and we're talking more about, growing those leaders. And with that comes a lot of engagement. And, there's a lot that has to be done, but I can tell you some things that we have some great reviews. That's right. P1 Group has been working with GSSI for over 15 years. Ted's combination of academic and real-world business experience gives him credibility in assisting businesses. With Ted's guidance, coaching, confidentiality, and professionalism, P1 Group has improved our operations, our leadership team, and our bottom line, and there's plenty more of those great positive reviews. Go to the website. Welcome back. All right. So joining us now again here is Ted Davis, joining us live, and we still have we had some more time in the show for 7 minutes now. What else did you want to kind of hone in on for today for your listeners?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to continue with our discussion about positive psychology and positivity. One of the neat things about positivity and why leaders really personally need to have a sense of optimism, which is one element of positivity. It comes from a book called Positivity by Barbara Fredrickson. I really recommend it. And she stresses that positivity broadens the mind, whereas negativity closes it. You think about it. When someone is negative, says, "Oh, we can't do that. Oh, it'll never happen." So they only see the downside. They have closed their mind to possibilities. But if you remain optimistic, now you've got to be realistic. A true optimist is realistic about what is the challenges that they're facing. An optimist does look at the scenario and look at how desperate it might be, but they look beyond it because the positivity keeps the mind open to recognize and define and to discuss and to discover new possibilities. So I think that's a critical piece of being positive because it helps with resilience. And when you're struggling with a problem, business problem, a personnel problem, whatever it is, to be resilient, to be open to new ideas, to be accepting of new ideas, and to be driven by your purpose. Those are the things that are going to help move the organization forward. So positivity, optimism, that build social connections because they're contagious. You know, in business, you don't want a bunch of lemmings who go follow the leader off the cliff, and that's what negative people do. You want to be around optimistic people because joy and gratitude cause relationships to grow and to become stronger. Then there's another label called positive organizational behavior, and it's a study and an application of 4 essential aspects: hope, efficacy, optimism, and resilience. So it's the acronym HERO, and it's a great thing to look at in your organization. So particularly the E, the efficacy, is the ability to mobilize your motivation. It's recognizing resources. It's your convictions and your confidence. So again, I think if you're going to be positive and you're going to be to have self-efficacy, it's not that you're trying to gloss over things. No, you want to be realistic. Where are you? What can you be? And then be optimistic about what you can go forward. And then optimism is that emotional and cognitive perspective that you expect success, and you expect that difficulty is going to pass. You may not know how long it's going to be, but you're going to get on the other side of the difficulties. And then resilience is that positive capacity to bounce back. You bounce back from adversity, uncertainty, conflict, whatever. So you have the capacity to cope successfully with significant change, adversity, risks. And again, what it takes is this positivity, this positive psychology. One of the persons that I like to really illustrate is Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. We know Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a great American, and we celebrated his birthday in January. But his father was likewise a great pillar of positive psychology. He lost his son, and certainly he lived in the Deep South in the early 20th century, so he'd seen a lot of racism and experienced a lot of loss. Obviously saw the assassination of his son. Well, people forget that in about 1974, I think it was, some madman raided his church, Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, and started shooting the place up. And the wounded and the killed included Mrs. King. So he just lost his wife to this nonsense, this foolishness. And so in an interview shortly after that, the correspondent asked Dr. King, do you hate the person who did it? And he immediately, quickly said, no, hate is too big a burden to carry. And went on and looked at his, again, his resilience to move beyond this. When I saw that on TV, decades ago, it just struck me how this man really lived his faith because he had hope, because he had love, because he was exercising godly love. There was a sense of hope that he could see beyond the tragedy that he was burdened by. And so even though he had experienced extreme negativity, he didn't become trapped by it. I think he was a great example of how do you rise above it, and certainly it was difficult. So I think one of the essentials to being able to get to that is, you see this in Martin Seligman's work about how to develop this positivity. So the number one thing is be thankful. Great gratitude is one of the biggest exercises that people do.
Sure
so you got to be thankful. So thankful for your people. Particularly as a leader, are you thankful for your people? Are you thankful for their effort?
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to take the time to praise and celebrate small successes. But gratitude is incredibly powerful.
Beautiful.
Even dealing with loss.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but would love to have people reach out to you. Could you share best form in all forms of contact?
Again, my email is tedavis@graceforsuccess.com, and my cell phone, 913-306-1499. I look forward to getting your text.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here. Happy holidays, by the way. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all the above. Are we back next week or are we off? I'm trying to think. Well, Christmas is...
No, I think it's two
weeks from now? All right, good. We'll look forward to seeing you then in the new year, okay?
All right.
Thank you so much, Ted. God bless as well. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.